There are multiple ways to do a reverse or locking stitch on the BERNINA 570 Quilters Edition. When you start to sew, you probably notice that the machine does take a couple little kind of locking stitches before it starts doing the straight stitches. Those stitches are to help make sure that the bobbin thread gets pulled up, and that's activated by you using your thread cutting function the last time you took fabric out. So it knows to do that little bit. Now next, most of you are used to using some type of reverse button when you start to stitch. So by touching and holding the reverse button, you'll see that your machine will stitch backwards until you let go, and then it will stitch forward again. So touch and hold, couple seconds, and then it will just stitch backwards. Now, what if you didn't have an extra hand to hold that reverse button down and you needed those locking stitches? Touch your eye for information and find that same symbol, the reverse function, here. Now, when you activate it, look, your picture even shows that it's not going to stitch forward anymore. It's going to stitch away from us or up. And as I stitch, this is considered permanent reverse, meaning it's going to stay going backwards until you untouch it and pretty much turn the yellow function off, and then it'll stitch again. Now, since we're here, let's talk about one more function, which is right next to it, called backstepping. So what is this? So I'm going to use the stitch number 8, kind of the honeycomb stitch, to give you an example of what it does. So if you were just to be stitching a normal decorative stitch and you touch the reverse button, it would probably not go back in the same holes. Just because of whatever pattern it's going forward, it would then do that same extra new stitches, but in the reverse. Well, when you come here, this machine can actually be programmed to go back in the exact same holes, and I'm going to do this, and watch, it will actually be, it's actually going to look bold, and I've even used this from time to time, but see how it goes back in the exact same holes? Now, it might get off a little bit just because if your fabric turns a little bit, but it will definitely make sure that you don't have like a funny looking back stitching as it does those steps going in reverse. So that is what that function is. Don't forget the question mark can also remind you what that symbol is by just touching the question mark and the symbol, and it'll come up with a definition on screen.